If you've ever thought about installing a pressure tank for your residential home, then you're in luck. I'm going to take you guys along on a beginner, step-by-step installation of a pressure tank demonstrated by one of our engineers here at RPS. Come along with us. Give me a little overview of what people are seeing here, because there's actually quite a bit going on.
Yeah. So this is a pretty typical setup for somebody, for a homeowner who is not part of a municipal water system. We have our well casing right here. We have our pressure tank, a pressure switch to turn on and off the pump. In a later part of the video, we're going to show you the starter box, and those are the main components that are going to be part of the water system that provides water and pressure to your house.
Okay, great, perfect. That's a really easy overview for somebody to understand. The first step that we're going to take is hooking up our breaker box electrical power into our pressure switch. As you can see right here, we're going to pan over to our pressure switch and the wiring that we have all set up. Andrew, take us through how we're going to wire this pressure switch up.
Yeah, sure thing. So first thing you're going to want to do is make sure that your power is disconnected and that you're not working with live conductors. And what we're dealing with today is we have a 240 volt input. We have a 3-wire and a ground pump that's going to operate off that. It's going to come in first to the pressure switch. The pressure switch is detecting the pressure in your incoming line, and it's deciding whether or not the system needs to be sending power to the pump or not. What we'll do now is we're going to feed power into the pressure switch. Okay. And then we're going to set some fork terminals on there, and then we're going to continue the connection all the way up into the starter box, which is going to be mounted up here.
Great, so this thing comes off. This is just a cap.
Yeah, so this is a cover plate. So underneath this cover, you're going to notice that there's 2 sets of contacts. It's best practices to open and close both hot contacts, as well as right down here is going to be your ground, where you're going to make a connection between your incoming ground wire and the pressure switch.
Great, so green is ground, right?
Yep.
And that's what you just match up.
Yep.
And then the red and the black, they're interchangeable? It doesn't matter if you put them on contact 1, contact 2?
The main place that you need to worry about is where you place them inside your starter box. So what you can see is that there are 4 sets of contacts. Okay, and when the pressure switch opens and closes, it opens and closes these sets of terminals right here. And those close the connection between adjacent screws. So that means if you have an incoming hot wire coming in here and your other hot wire is coming right here, it's going to short it out and it's going to trip your breaker. You need to have both of your incoming hot wires on separate sets of contacts. So there's one set of contacts right here dealing with these two screws, and then there's another set of contacts right here dealing with these sets. So your incoming hot wires, hot 1, needs to come in on either this one or this one, and then hot 2, either this one or this one, and then finally your ground is going to make a connection down here to ground your pressure switch. So yeah, now what we'll do is we already peeled back our insulating jacket from our service wire. We're going to feed it through the grommet here. We're going to set some fork terminals on here, and then we're going to go and put it on. Yep.
Okay, so we'll show you a little close-up and kind of speed through it for just connecting the wire, and then we'll move on to the next step. Oh, yeah, you got to put those wires through the side. Some people put them through the middle, and that's the first mistake that you're going to make. So this is like the pro tip of making sure that you put your wires through the side. That's going to be all weatherproofing. It'll keep out the bugs. It'll keep out the water. And so you're putting on fork terminals. Those fork terminals are another like pro tip that we utilize.
You just give them a nice positive connection to the location where you're placing the screw. Given the fact that these are 10 gauge wires. There's other screw terminals, like let's say in the starter box, that will allow a stranded wire. But in this case, it's best to use the proper terminal for the location that it needs to be set.
Now, technically, you could connect the bare wire here, but this is like the cleanest, most professional way of doing things. So that's what we're trying to ascribe to, is giving you best practices to be able to use in your home DIY installation.
Yeah. Yeah, and also make sure to strip your conductor to the proper length to make sure that it's not protruding into the location where the fork terminal needs to land underneath your screw terminals.
Great tip. Okay, so there goes hot 1. And then Andrew's going to connect up to hot 2.
Bend it down and get some clearance underneath the enclosure. And then we'll just do a quick test fit for the first wire that we run in. So it's all good. And now we're ready to move on to the next part.
So that was step 1. What are we going to move on to step 2, Andrew?
The next step is going to be making this connection from the pressure switch up to your starter box, and then completing that finally onto the drop wire. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yeah. And your starter box can go on a wooden stake if you want to. It can go on the wall of a building, but Andrew just mocked up this holder for a starter box out here. I mean, we're in the back of the property. We don't have a whole lot of infrastructure back here, so this is a great way to keep things nice and neat and tidy.
Here, this is the starter box. This is for a 3/4 horse. You may have a different size starter box, but essentially it's going to be about the same. You're going to have 2 hot wires coming in along with your ground that's going to connect to your box. And then finally you're going to have your 3 hot wires coming out of the starter box going down the well.
Cool, so we're going to take the face off of the box because this comes apart into 2 pieces.
Yeah, in this case the guts of the starter box go with the lid. With some of the larger systems, a lot of this stuff you're going to find on the inside right here.
Okay, and so then we're going to hang this thing up to here.
Correct.
So we have a self-driving screw that got placed in here, and that's really all you need to hang your starter box.
Just 2 screws. So the top is going to be slotted. And like I said, we can already just drop that right on there and then tighten it down.
Boom.
And then we got our second one down here ready to go.
Great. We're stabilized.
Yep.
And so now we're going to take some wiring. And what kind of wiring do we have that you're going to be using to connect the pressure switch to the starter box?
This is just a 2-pole service wire. This has, some customers may have a direct burial wire. Some of them may have wire coming in from conduit. So connections from the pressure switch to the starter box may be different for everybody depending on how far along your system is in terms of installation and whether or not you already have something there.
Yeah.
But I'll direct your eyes to the terminals right here. This is going to be universal across all starter boxes that we sell. Right here we have the 2 hot wires coming in, line 1, line 2. That's going to be your red and black wire coming from your pressure switch. And then right here, after it goes through the start capacitor and start relay located on the inside of the cover, it's going to come out right here. You're going to have your common, which is your yellow. You can see that it's labeled red, yellow, black. And then your 2 other windings, red for your start winding and black for your running winding.
Awesome. And so we're using what kind of gauge wire today? We're using
in this case, this is 10 gauge wire. It's a little bit oversized for our application, but it's just what we had around.
And then the other thing is conduit. That's the tubing that you would put on the outside of your wiring, especially if you're using like the direct burial stuff. That's going to help protect it from weather, but it's also going to mainly protect it from animals. And they love to chew through wires, rats, bunnies, sometimes deer. We are doing a non-conduit installation just to help you visualize everything a little bit more, but the conduit will be very useful in a longer term installation.
Yeah. So same thing, we're going to be pulling the 2 hots and the ground through the grommet right here. We're going to be installing some fork terminals, and then we're going to be bringing it up to line 1 and line 2 right here.
We completed that step and we're on to the next step, which is connecting our 10 gauge wire up to our starter box.
Yep. So in this case, all the wiring's done right here, and then when the lid of this starter box drops down and sets into place, it's going to make all these connections via these little terminals right here on the starter box. So your system's not going to operate until you get this installed. Again, don't work with live wires or conductors while you're doing this kind of work. Okay, so we're going to bring the wire around, pull it up into the starter box. And this is just our strain relief for this connection into the starter box.
Now, Andrew, how many inches long did you make those wire cuts, the available wires? That's probably about 4 inches long.
Yeah, I'll strip these a little bit further. They're going to be about 1/4 inch to set the fork terminals on, and that's going to be about the same strip length that you're going to be using to install into line 1 and line 2 if you're just installing bare stranded wire into the line 1 and line 2 terminals. In this case, it's appropriate because there is a backing plate on it, whereas you'd still probably want to use a fork terminal for this connection right here.
Got it.
So we're going to go ahead and, just since it's easy right here, before we start moving the cables around, we're going to strip the wire back and put our fork terminals in.
Okay, Andrew, so as a reminder to those watching at home and following along, we are connecting the black wire to L1, the red wire to L2, and then we're connecting our green wire to our ground screw.
Yep, so that's what we're doing right now. We don't need to tighten it down all the way because we're going to have an additional ground coming from our pump, and it's going to be connecting to that very same spot. Okay, so we'll go ahead and loosen up our L1 and L2 terminals. We'll bring them around, and then we'll drop them in right at these 2 spots.
We're moving on to the final stage of wiring for our submersible pump. We're going to cut down our submersible pump wire. We've got a little extra here, which is nice to have. You don't want to just buy an exact length of what you need. Get a little bit extra because you never know what environmental factors are going to happen when you finally get out to the well install. It's just a couple bucks. It gives you peace of mind. So we'll cut that down, connect it to the starter box, and at that point, once we put the face of the starter box on, we'll have a pump that's fully operational, except for the missing plumbing. So, wiring, plumbing, and then we'll be ready to go for our first test of the submersible pump.
Now that we have our well seal all tightened up, we're going to just take our flat jacket cable. We're going to leave about 4 inches on the inside of the starter box of loose wire. So we're going to cut down a little extra, and then just to account for stretch and some of those unknown situations, we're going to leave a little bit of extra. So we're going to go ahead and drop it down, and then we're going to leave about 4 inches of extra wire, and we're going to cut it right here. And then we're going to start to cut back the flat jacket cable. When you do it, you want to make sure that you're not cutting into the inner insulation. What I like to do is I like to bend it and then just apply some short, soft cuts into it and find out how deep the cuts need to go. And if you bend it like that, you can start to see where the jacket is starting to show up, and then we can work on the sides. And this just ensures that you're not cutting into the most essential conductors inside the system, and you're preventing any possibility of shorts inside your wiring and enclosure. Okay, so now that we've stripped back the wires from our drop wire, we are going to strip it back to the bare conductors, but before we do that, we're going to be inserting it into the right side of our starter box, down from the bottom. Again, most of the guts of the starter box are located on the cover on this particular model, so we got a lot of room to work with in here. But just keep in mind that when you finally do have everything in place, you're going to want to make sure that none of your wiring's protruding into this area of the enclosure, because that's where a lot of the elements of the starter box are located on final install.
Okay.
So we're going to go ahead and bring it back behind our stand here. We're going to feed it through. So one thing we just need to make sure we do is we have enough room, and we've cut enough of our jacket off to make it over to our ground point. So this is more than sufficient. And then the last 3 wires, you can see we have our black that's going to land over here, yellow for the middle, and then red for the first set of terminals right here.
Great. So you're going to apply the forks, and we'll check back with you once we do that.
All right. Very good. Okay, so we're here at the final part of our tie-in. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be connecting the 3-wire and a ground flat jacket cable to the starter box. Again, we have black, yellow, and red, and then ground down here to make the final tie-in. Now we'll tuck our wires. Another place to watch out and make sure you don't have one of your conductors right here where one of the fasteners for the front cover is going to be coming in. You don't want to pierce the insulation. Now we're ready to place the cover on, and then we can do the final tie-in with the plumbing.
Okay, we're going to put the faceplate of the starter box on now, right?
Yeah. So all we have to do is make sure that these tabs right here are aligned, and then we will drop it on right here. And then just again, as part of the installation process, these little teeth right here will drop onto these contacts and fit into place and complete the circuit as soon as we place it on.
Okay. So technically, and we're saying that you should have your electricity off right now, but if you made this connection, your pump would technically be live.
All right.
Okay, so the last thing that we have to do is finish off the plumbing connection from this to this part,
Yep.
and then we're going to turn on the system and see some water.
Yeah, okay, let's do it.
Okay, you're gonna take some PVC and sort of measure this out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So we'll just put this right here.
And you're using some nice unions to just easily connect everything up.
Okay.
So you're just trying to eyeball it, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
From level to level?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go right here. So we should have just enough for that. We'll make that cut right here.
Okay, so Andrew, you grabbed your glue, quote unquote, but what specifically is this, and why is this going to work best for PVC?
This is just PVC cement. Sometimes if you're disconnecting and reconnecting pieces, this one's useful because you can use it in wet or dry circumstances. However, you do have to watch out because it does have a very short working time. So you need to have all your pieces cut and then glue them, all at once. And yeah, that's basically the main thing that you need to watch out for.
And this is Christie's Red Hot Blue Glue PVC pipe cement. We
Yep.
can get a close-up of that if anybody is interested in knowing exactly what we're using. Great.
Okay.
And you don't need a ton of this. It's not supposed to be
No, I mean, I
gloppy.
usually wipe it off. The main thing that you need to watch for is coverage. If you're using maybe older pipe, you definitely want to make sure that you're applying a primer first. In this case, we're using like all brand new. The temperatures are quite cold right now, so it's going to have a slower set time. And then just as you're putting it on, you'll just give it a twist to make sure that as the glue becomes a little bit more viscous, that it doesn't drip everywhere, and you get a nice even coverage on the fitting as you're placing it.
Looks beautiful.
Yeah, so then all we need to do now is just make sure that we drop this down to the right height for the connection right here. And then the union down below will give us enough freedom to spin this on after we take it off and glue it, and we know where we need to place it.
Great, let's do it.
So there's enough of a gap here to account for a reducer bushing that we're going to be threading in right here in stainless, and then we're going to be transitioning to a simple PVC male adapter. So after we get it set on, there should be enough space right there to get everything connected and have enough space.
I bet people are wondering, are there any issues with connecting a stainless steel fitting to a PVC fitting?
No, as long as you use Teflon tape and close everything up. The threads are pretty standard across different industries, you know, PVC or you know, metals and materials. However, you know, there are certain differences in the thread size, sometimes as a result of cooling during a machining process, or just maybe even like the age of the cutting bit. So it's you know, best to just add enough Teflon tape. You can also use thread sealant as an additional precaution. With our thread sealant or thread tape, you really don't need to do that. You can just build it up maybe a couple more layers than what you normally would.
Okay, great.
And you'll get a feel for it. So I'll just do this last reducer bushing right here. This bushing right here will take us from the 1 1/4 inch diameter on the T-fitting down to the 1 inch that we're using for our plumbing on the skid right here. So we'll make sure that our thread tape is laid down. It's sometimes helpful to run your finger over it just to make sure it doesn't wad up or do anything while you're putting it on. And now we can go ahead, do the first piece spun on. Just make sure that you're not cross-threading again when you're placing it on, and just make sure that it's engaging correctly. All right, so we got it mostly hand tight, and then what we're going to do now is we're going to tilt it to the side, and then we're going to spin it onto our fitting right here, and then we'll be able to just roll it around and get it fitted, because we don't have too much weight on this right here.
So since we tightened everything else down beforehand, we actually have to just do it this other way. I can't believe it, but I think we've finished.
This is it. This is the last step.
All right.
Now we just need to flip the switch.
Okay, this is the exciting step that we've been waiting for, that we could actually get water from our well after we installed our well pump, pressure tank, wired everything up, plumbed everything up. So all we have to do is turn the breaker back on at this point, and then we can open up the valves. Okay, let's go do it.
All right, let's do it.
Thanks for watching our pressure tank step-by-step installation of wiring and plumbing for a well pump. If you're interested in learning more, you can check out our other videos that are going to appear over here, or you can go to rpswaterpumps.com. See you in the next video.